Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Sold Sign, Real Estate Unplugged. Thank you guys so much for all of our new followers and new subscribers. We really appreciate it because it really helps our podcast. Y'all, it is Black History Month. That came up so fast, but it's here. And it's also my birthday. If you're listening to this, January 31st, or if you're watching it, it's February 1st, of course, which is the first day of Black History Month. So just a reminder that for our podcast, we are here to just give you fun information from, especially stories. These are going to be stories from everyone all in the industry, and we just want to be able to share it with you and give you tips, insights, but also kind of the juiciness that goes on behind the sold sign and behind the real estate scene. So we got another great story for you guys today, and we call this one Deceitful Deals.
All right. So a few years back, I had a colleague who unfortunately became entangled in a situation that ultimately led to severe professional repercussions. This realtor had been handling a high-profile listing for a luxury property in an upscale neighborhood. The realtor's unethical conduct began when they received an offer significantly below the property's market value from a buyer who had personal connection to the realtor. Instead of presenting the offer impartially to her client, the realtor manipulated the situation. She convinced her client that the offer was the best that they could get in this market, downplaying the property's true value. As the transaction progressed, it became apparent that the realtor was involved in a side deal with the buyer, receiving undisclosed kickbacks in exchange for pushing the sale through at a lower price. This unethical behavior reached its climax during the closing process when the true market value of the property came to light, as it always does.
Yeah.
The seller, feeling betrayed and realizing the financial loss they had incurred, filed a complaint with the local real estate board. An investigation ensued, revealing the extent of the realtor's misconduct. The consequences were severe. She faced disciplinary action from the board, including the suspension of her real estate license. Word spread quickly within the real estate community about the realtor's actions, tarnishing her professional reputation. Moreover, the legal consequences extended beyond the board's disciplinary measures. The buyer involved in the kickback scheme also faced legal action, further emphasizing the serious consequences of unethical conduct in real estate transactions. This unfortunate incident serves as a reminder that maintaining ethical standards is crucial in the real estate profession. Such cases are rare, but they underscore the importance of transparency, honesty, and fair dealing to preserve the trust of clients and the integrity of the real estate industry as a whole.
That was a lot.
That was a lot.
You know, that's like my saying. That was a lot. So the realtor had a luxury listing.
Yeah.
The buyer, who the realtor knew, the buyer, they were friends. And the buyer came to the realtor and said, hey, I want to buy this house, but I don't want to buy it for this amount of money. So if you convince the seller to let me buy it at a lower price, then I will in return give you a kickback.
Right.
All right. So really quick, if you don't know what a kickback is, it's pretty much when a real estate agent will accept something of value or monetary. In this case, it was definitely money.
Right.
But if that's when they will accept something of value in return for a referral of a client. So that is highly illegal if you don't already know. It's something that you are not supposed to be doing. Pretty much like, let's say another example is if, let's say you have an inspector and the inspector says, hey, I will go ahead and say that this house is in great condition if you go ahead and give me some money for it. Give me $300 under the table and I'll go ahead and say that it's all good. Y'all, we can't do that. And that's exactly why she got in trouble with the realtor.
She got her license taken, revoked.
Yeah, as you should.
With the quickness, as she should.
Yeah, and I know she had to pay a fine, to pay a fine, because there's no way that you can do that. And I'm so happy that the seller actually did go to the board, because if I was the seller, put yourself in that shoes. If I was the seller, it would have been over.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So it sounds like that the seller actually did their due diligence. We talk about this all the time.
Yes.
And either got a second opinion or was like,
something's not right. Yeah.
Something's not right. So like, kudos for them for actually noticing, like, hey, you told me that the house will probably, and you would know, like, as a seller, you're in it. So if you know, like, your house is going to say, let's say 500,000, and that's what you and your realtor discuss, that's actually on your like agreement, your realtor and seller agreement. Hey, we're going to list the house for $500,000, and then all of a sudden you come out of nowhere and say, hey, I'm gonna list it maybe, let's say 450. Something's not right, and I'm glad the seller actually noticed that. Yeah. Which is awesome. And this is something, surprisingly, that happens a lot in the real estate industry. I hate to say it, and I wish I would.
Like a kickback situation. Yeah.
Kickback and being very unethical, because that's very unethical. It's illegal and unethical, but I feel like I see more realtors. And I'm not just going to put it all on the realtors. I'm not going to do that because we're all not like that. But there are also other people in the industry that do it as well. And it's very illegal and unethical. And I think that I see more unethical things happening in the field than I do, I don't want to say illegal, but I mean, they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah,
don't
I feel
they?
like it kind of goes hand in hand. I feel like doing something unethical, like, might as well be illegal.
That's exactly
especially
how I feel.
like as a realtor, because you know you'll be in serious trouble, as you should be.
Yeah.
So
and those fines, y'all, no joke. If you don't know, those fines, we have not had an issue yet, and I don't think we plan on having any issues. But those fines are no joke. I mean, they're like $2,500, $5,000,
the legal fees, like everything.
And that's serious. Something your broker is going to have. So if you're a realtor and you are part of a brokerage, you are going to pay something called E&O insurance. And that is something that will help if you ever get caught up in something. That is where your brokerage comes in and say, okay, you've been paying into this E&O insurance. You will go ahead and we'll go ahead and help you out. But they're not going to help you for the whole cost, because that's something you brought upon yourself.
Yeah, and they're not going to help you with the fines that you have to pay as a result of that.
Exactly.
I guess errors and omissions really just goes towards, the initial, like, legal, paperwork and stuff. But yeah, those fines that you get as a result, that's on you.
100%. Like, that is
that's all on you.
Your broker didn't tell you to go out there and do that, do nothing crazy like that. And if they did, then they should definitely be held accountable 100%. So, your reputation in the industry, because is ruined at this point.
Yeah.
And we are big on collaborating and not letting our ego get in the way. And what I mean by that is we are not out here like, no, we don't want to work with other realtors. Right. We want to collab with other realtors. But when we find out stuff like this and we notice, oh, you are a realtor that's doing some unethical things, because we like to refer clients to other people, especially if they're not in the state that we serve, and then we find out that you're doing unethical things, that now puts our client that we referred you to in a really bad situation, and we don't play that. So we are very particular about who we work with, and we want to make sure that y'all not out here doing no crazy stuff, because that puts us in a bad situation too, because the client is going to call and say, hey, who did you set me up with? And it's like, wait a second. Yeah. Nah, my bad. That was our fault.
Yeah, we always want our clients to be in good hands. So we want to work with people who are ethical, and we know they are going to take care of who we send to them.
Yeah. They run their business the same way we run ours. We hope better. Like, we want to send someone that, if they run their business, the same way, but I would say, a lot better. And then this they were in a neighborhood. I'm going to go back to the story really quick. But they were in so they had an upscale neighborhood. It was a luxury property. So they're in this neighborhood. Because what happens is, if you have a listing, your sign goes up like in front of the house that you're listing. So when that happens, everyone else in the neighborhood is going to see that sign. So they're saying, oh, okay, well, why don't we use this listing agent as well? So now you could have had probably multiple listings in that neighborhood, but once they found out that you ended up trying to sell their neighbor's house for lower, because that also impacts
their value of their home.
hello, brings their market value down too. You will never get another listing in that neighborhood. And you're talking about you messed up a luxury property in an upscale neighborhood.
That's not something you play with.
What? You know how many more listings? Like, come on, just for that little kickback, because there's no way that your friend, the buyer, was going to pay you more money than how much you were going to get from your commission.
No,
it's not happening. And if they were, no, they wasn't.
No,
they weren't. Because ain't no way.
Looking back, I'm sure they know, like, it was not worth it.
No.
Definitely not worth it.
And I'm like,
it never is worth it.
No.
Like, whether they would have gotten caught or not, they did get caught, but, like, even if they didn't, it's never worth it down the line. Like, karma, all of that. You just want to move with integrity, and it'll catch up to you later. So
it always does.
Yeah.
And it looks like it definitely caught up to them. And would you ask the buyer for the money for the legal fees? And
well,
as the realtor, knowing now the license is suspended, they got to pay all these fees, would you go to the buyer and be like,
I mean,
yo, you gotta help me out?
They both in trouble. I mean, they might as well help each other. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
They should. You would.
I guess so. Yeah, because I'm here because of you. You here because of me.
and wait, and they got the house.
The buyer.
Did they close on the house?
I don't even. Wait a minute.
I feel like they closed, like, unless they realize.
So they realized during the closing process, when the true market value of the property came to light. So they probably didn't close. So hopefully they didn't, and the seller got an opportunity to, like, do it the right way with another agent. So they probably didn't. But that the buyer got in trouble as well, as they should have. But yeah, that's super messy.
Yeah, it is. And I'm glad that the buyer faced, actions as well. We already knew the realtor was going to, because this is your job. You're licensed. Like, we are licensed. So that ain't something that, if you don't know, like, NARS, it's the National Association of Realtors, they don't play around with. So they will come and get you in a heartbeat, and they're going to get their money.
Yep. And as I was saying before, as a realtor, you always, like, your number one ethical duty is to always have your client's best interest. Like, number one, hands down. NARS will probably, like, stamp it on our foreheads. But, like, number one, you always have to have your client's best interest. And this realtor, like, absolutely did not have her client's best interest for a little kickback.
No. And if you wanted to have your client's best interest, then you should have represented the buyer, who was your friend. That's how I feel. Because you would have obviously had their best interest. You would have tried to get it for a lower price. You did everything in the buyer's power, who you were not representing. The agent wasn't representing. Sorry, agent, we're not coming down on you. We just saying we're going through this and, like, looking at it and saying, okay, if you want to represent someone at the highest value, then maybe you should have been representing the buyer, and you could have had someone else represent the listing. And then also, like, as a seller, it looks like they did not close, which, like you said, I'm very happy about. But I was thinking about this, and I'm like, okay, if I was a seller and I realized that this happened, and I'm like, okay, wait a second, so commission, if the seller is always going to pay the agent's commissions. So let's say we're in Maryland, and the listing agent's commission is usually 3%. So that means that the seller usually pays the listing agent 3%, and then they will also pay the buyer's agent like 2.5%. It's pretty standard. So since the agent was representing the listing agent, the listing, my question would have been, as the seller, like, okay, wait a second, you said that we're going to sell this house for $500,000, so I have no problem giving you a 3% commission. But if then you come to me and say, we actually want to have to sell it for $450,000, I would probably have to readjust your commission if that's really the case, because I'm looking at the market and it's telling me that my house is actually worth $500,000, and you're telling me that we're only going to get a max of $450,000. We may have to cut your commission a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it was even, like, lower than just a $50K cut.
The way lost it.
That this was going,
I would have lost. I would have lost it. That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money. But it can so a few tips, y'all. Yeah, it can definitely ruin your business. Think about this, because that is like just think about it 2 or 3 times before you actually do it, okay? Because if you're like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, and we get it. We are actually realtors and we are in this market, and we get, like, 2023 y'all was crazy with those interest rates. So I get how some people can be very like intrigued, like, oh, you're gonna pay me a little bit more money. I get it. But y'all, it's not worth it, because in a month or two you may not have a license at all, and then you really have no income coming in. So really think about what you're doing and the way you want to move and run your business, because other people are watching you, and you may not get any more business from either other sellers, other buyers, or other agents in the industry.
Yeah. And it's like this is so cliche, but I am such a like golden rule person, like living by the golden rule. And you have to put yourself in other people's shoes. So even that realtor should have been thinking about like what they were really doing to the seller and what they want that done to them or a loved one.
Yep.
You know, somebody misleading them like that.
Yeah.
So do unto others what done to you. You have to live by the golden rule in all assets of life, like business, everything. So yeah, no,
that's a great tip. And people don't realize that, but they will when they realize they ain't got no license. They don't realize that. All right, y'all. That is a wrap for today's episode. I think we've given y'all some tips. Do we have any more tips for them for this one?
Just I think the golden rule covers everything.
Yeah.
Always be ethical. Put yourself in other people's shoes and really think about, like, is this worth it?
Yeah.
Is this worth it? Half the time, it's probably not. More than half the time, it's probably not.
And sellers too, like, do your due diligence. Like, know what your property value is. Like, don't just wait for a realtor to come in and say, hey, this is how much your house is worth. You've been living there for however long. You know what upgrades you made. You know what other homes are selling in the area. So know your due diligence and understand that, okay, I know that my house is worth this. So if at any point someone comes in and tells you it's a little different now, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, that's a little different. But if you're talking about $100,000 difference, you know that that's wrong. So sellers, make sure y'all are paying attention to the market and how much your house is going to sell for.
Yes.
So that is definitely a wrap, I think, finally.
I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap for today's episode. And thank you guys again for just sticking with us. And we really hope, one, you enjoyed this journey through real estate. And again, this podcast is called Beyond the Sold Sign, Real Estate Unplugged, because we get into the nitty gritty of all of it. So we're happy that you guys are here with us. Yes. And So
if you enjoyed this episode and you want more, please like, comment, subscribe, share it with a friend. That helps us grow and reach more people to share these stories with. And we're also always open to stories to share. So if you have a tale to tell, feel free to reach out to us. We are on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everything.
YouTube,
you can find us, and of course YouTube. So feel free to reach out, and we will see you all next time.
Bye. Bye.